Welcome to the Singer's Guide podcast with me, Tessa. This is the show for ambitious singers who want more than just scales and song practice. We'll talk about the things regular singing lessons don't always have time to cover. Because being a singer is about more than just your voice. It's about confidence, preparation, and all the little skills that make performing effortless. I'm excited to be your guide and your fellow traveller as we explore them all. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Singer's Guide podcast. This is the first episode of 2026. How exciting. Now for me, I decided a couple of years ago that I wasn't prescribing to 1st of January being the start of the year. And so I moved my start of the year to March the 1st. I'll explain that in a minute, but I do know that a lot of people in January start their New Year's resolutions, they start their goal setting, they really take the time to sit back and contemplate what they want from the coming year. And so today's episode is going to be about setting goals, how to structure your goals and set realistic, attainable goals that you are motivated to keep and stick to throughout the year so that you can achieve everything you want to in this year and beyond. But yes, as I said, I don't prescribe to the 1st of January being the start. And I'll tell you why, because I used to feel a lot of pressure. And I think that pressure comes from, society, social media, all of the advertising that's like, new year, new me. And I found that really difficult, actually, really stressful. I'm somebody who loves self-development. I love reflection, journaling, all of those things. But there's just something about the pressure. We've just had Christmas. The kids are excited and not at school, so I don't have any time for myself, and so just starting all of those things in January felt tricky. So I decided the 1st of March, and I think it makes perfect sense. Here's why. You know how every 4 years the year has an extra day and we stick that at the end of February? Well, wouldn't you stick that at the end of the year instead of 2 months in? So there's reason number one. It means that the end of the year is either the 28th or the 29th of February. It also means that the 1st of March, that's when spring happens. It's not in the middle of winter where things feel cold and like it'll never be sunny and bright ever again. It starts with spring when the daffodils, which I love, pop up and make everything feel cheery. And then the final thing that my brain absolutely loves is that if March is month number 1, then month number 8 is no longer August, it's October. Oct meaning 8. And that happens, we've then got November becomes the 9th month, December becomes the 10th month. And my brain likes that. Things lining up. So that's why my business goals, my personal goals, they tend to happen in March. But I recognize that not everybody is like me, and the vast majority of people listening will probably be beginning of the new year is actually January when the year changes. Now, obviously, we're talking more specifically about goals for our singing, and we can have different sized goals. We can have our long-term goals. They're probably about 5 years-ish, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit longer. Then we've got medium-term goals. That could be a couple of years. Then we've got short-term goals. That could be within months, maybe even weeks. And then even smaller than that, we've got the goals for every week or every practice session. And the first thing that we want to make sure is that all of our smaller goals align to our next goal size up. So we'll start with our big goal. Imagine you want by December 2026, or whenever you're listening to this, to perform a gig, and you want a full, you're the star of the show set. Now, I'm a jazz singer, so let's go with that. We want to be performing in December a gig of 2:45 minutes. We want to do that with a piano player, and so say that's our long-term goal. I know 12 months isn't a very long term, but let's go with that for my example. So we want to make sure that we know what that entails and that our medium-term goals feed into that. And then our short-term goals feed into that. And every session, every practice session that we have supports the fact that we're going to sing for an hour and a half in a performance. We need that many songs in our gig in December. Now, you may have heard in the context of goal setting the acronym SMART, and I'm going to talk through what SMART goals are, but we definitely want to make sure that our goals are SMART. Here's what SMART stands for. So S is specific. We don't want our goals to be really vague. If we said like, oh yeah, I want a gig, great. But when and what is the gig? We need to be more clear. So I want to perform a jazz gig, and I want it to be with a real life musician. Specific. Let's make sure that our goals are not vague and vast. M, measurable. So how do I know when my goal has been reached? If I said my goal is I want to be a good singer, that's not a very measurable outcome, because being a good singer is really vague. And how do we know that we've got it? You might already be a singer that other people would say is good, but you feel like you want to be better. Be a better singer. Like, how do you measure that? So we want to think of our goals as being something where we can actually know when we've achieved it. So I want to have a gig in December. Well, that's measurable. Either I'll have a gig in December or I won't. So that's our M, measurable. So we've got specific and measurable. A, achievable. We want our goals to not be beyond our current reach. Because if you set a goal that is too hard, then our motivation to try and reach it is going to lack. There is a balance. We also don't want goals that are super easy and they don't challenge us, because the nature of challenge, the nature of like wanting to achieve something is really motivating. And if goals are like too easy, I want to learn one song in the next 12 months. This is not going to be very motivating, but they do need to be achievable. It can't be, I want 2 gigs every day in December and I want them each to pay £500. Some things just aren't achievable. And if a goal isn't achievable, then we won't be able to meet it. And then again, we will lose our motivation and probably some confidence too. The R in SMART is for relevant. So as I said before, it's nice to have goals of differing sizes that feed into each other. But every goal needs to be relevant for the bigger picture or for who you are as an artist. So for example, if my big main goal, carrying on with our example, is to have a jazz gig in December, but my medium-term goal is to write a new song every week or learn the riffs from some R&B cover songs, then those goals aren't relevant. They aren't relevant to who I want to be as a jazz singer. We want to make sure that the goals that we choose make sense for who you are and what your larger goals are. We need them to be relevant. Does that make sense? Good. And T is for time bound. And this is to do with deadlines. Whether we have a task-based practice session where we have, by the end of this session, I am going to have nailed this particular tricky bit of melody. Or by June, I will have half of the songs ready for this gig that I'm working for in December. Having goals that are time-bound, that have a duration of time or a deadline, can help motivate us. As I talked about in episode 8, having deadlines is a really good way of keeping us motivated and improving our confidence as well. We want to make sure within this SMART acronym that our goals are set to a specific length of time. Again, if we use a poor example, I want to get better at singing. Well, by when? I mean, like by next week? Or by like 10 years' time? I want to perform a gig in 12 months that will have an hour and a half of music and is with a piano player. So then my smaller goals feed into that. By this month, I will have learned this many songs. By this month, I will have located a piano player and had this many practices with them. I will be working in this practice session on that specific song because that part of the melody is quite tricky, or I'm struggling with improvising over the changes and I want to make sure that I can scat a solo on every song. So that is what the SMART acronym stands for: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But I also want to just add something, which is that it needs to be fun. I think that a goal should be something that excites you. It should be a fun thing to aim for, and the way that you get to that fun thing should also be fun. And that is really important for me in my coaching, in this podcast where I've talked about, how to make cooling down more enjoyable, how to make warming up more enjoyable, how to hack the way that your brain works so that you are motivated to do things. A friend of mine, Astra, said one time, and I don't know where this quote comes from, but they're the person that introduced it to me: you can't get to a good time if the way there is also not a good time. They said it much more succinctly than that. But basically, if you want to get to this good place, you have to have fun getting there. Otherwise, you're going to give up and not bother. We find that sometimes with, New Year's resolutions. We have this idea that, I'm going to be eating really healthily. But then if it becomes something that doesn't feel enjoyable and it feels like a chore, then you're not going to reach that goal. And that again is why we talked about motivation in episode 8, because it's really important that things are motivating, that we enjoy the challenge, or we just enjoy the experience of developing our skills and trying to hit those goals. So, to summarize, we can have different sizes of goals, but we want them to all feed towards the biggest goal so that we can be quite focused and not get distracted. We want our goals to be SMART, which I will say again: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But we also need it to be enjoyable. We need it to feel fun so that we are motivated to do it. There are many ways to make it fun. You could call it something more exciting. If you want to practice your singing more, but practice sounds like a boring thing, maybe don't call it practice. Maybe don't say I'm going to practice every day. Maybe say I'm going to be creative every day. Doesn't being creative sound more fun than practicing my improvisation? I don't know, maybe that's just me. The point is that we need to know ourselves really well, know how we react to things and what makes us interested and what makes us turn off, and work with ourselves without judgment to make sure that our goals are achievable and that we enjoy the journey of getting there. There's only a couple more episodes left of this first season of the Singer's Guide podcast, and every episode I have been asking, what do you wish that you had learned sooner in your singing career? And if you would like to send me those answers, you can find me on social media at Tessa Smith Music. I would love to collate them, because in a couple of episodes' time, I'm going to talk about some of those ones that have come in, and maybe they'll help me develop season 2 of the podcast after a little break, which will be in my new year, which, as I said, starts in March. And with that, I will sign off. But I would like to say that if your goals for 2026, or whenever you're listening to this, are to sing more, practice more, these aren't very specific, are they? But you know what I mean. To improve your voice, and you're looking for ways to do that, you are very welcome to contact me, and we can talk about if and how I can help you. I have the Self-Validated Voice program, which is a wonderful program to help singers develop not only their voice, but their whole sort of approach to a career in music. It's very person-centered. It's different for everyone. We can talk about your social media strategy, or we can talk about your artistic development and brand, and so many things. It's a really lovely program that has helped singers and artists really step into their own. Or if you are looking to up your practice this year, maybe practicing more consistently is one of your goals, then you can check out the Singers Practice Hub. There's a whole episode on it, episode 7, I believe, where you can listen to what's in it, or you can reach out and ask me about that as well. I would love to be part of your goals and resolutions, because I just love doing this. I love helping singers find sustainable ways to practice and improve their skills. So, Happy New Year if you were listening to this in January or March for that matter, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the Singer's Guide podcast. You'll find all the resources and links from this episode in the show notes. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a fellow singer who'd love it too. And don't forget to connect with me on socials at Tessa Smith Music. Keep singing, keep practicing, and I'll see you next time. Bye!